Hi guys, I'm trying to get something to clean my glasses. Okay, let's see. Welcome to Mentorship Monday. Yay! Joined. Hi, yay. Mtu Joey, Tsebo. Sekua. Yo, guys, today you are really putting my Zuliness to the test, ne? Hi, Kay, Pulwano, Ndumiso, Nomsa, Avetandwa. Oh, what a beautiful name, Avetandwa. Tuto. Martis is my favorite person. Thank you. Ashraf, hello to you. Esther on the rise. Naldik, Anda. Hosted by Ayanda. Hi. Lungile. Oh, such a fave. Love to see you always. Huiti. Welcome. I can see it's your very, very first time. Lynn, thank you for being here. Tando, thank you for being here. Hi, guys. So welcome to Mentorship Mondays. Toki, hello to you. Oya, hello to you. Oyama, we even have a question from you, Oyana. So I said, where's the red lipstick? Guys, let me just firstly say to you, I'm joining you from my hotel room. I'm in Mauritius, and my travel dramas just have not stopped following me. I've had my flight cancelled twice in the space of 48 hours. So, long story short, I had to fly to Mauritius one day earlier than I was supposed to be here because SAA cancelled my flight. And then now that I'm here, and then Air Mauritius has now cancelled my flight home. So, there's a lot of stuff happening, but I'm taking a deep breath. I'm centering myself, and I'm staying on mission and staying focused on what we need to focus on. So I'm really excited to be here. So no red lipstick, guys. I'm literally like between time zones. The only thing that I've got is my brain and my heart. That's what I'm going to be bringing in. Yeko, hello to you. Helen, hello as well. Lungile, so your question, Lungile is asking, are you going to be saving this live? So remember, guys, that all lives are posted onto our YouTube page. It's Nozipho Shabalala. We're really trying to up the subscriptions onto that page. So all the Mentorship Mondays that we've done since we started the series are all posted there. So you can always go back and listen to them. And the reason why we're also posting is that we don't repeat the same topics week after week after week. So if it's something that we've covered, for example, in one of the Mentorship Mondays, I will say to you, okay, guys, please go check out the YouTube page, and then you can, listen to that there. So there were a lot of questions that came in for today. So firstly, thank you for that. It's validation that this conversation is worth it, and it means it's adding value somewhere. But the thing with a lot of questions is also we want to do justice to the questions we do take. So I don't want to necessarily rush through. If there's anything we don't get to, remember, we'll pick it up the next week. Or if there's anything that I feel that I can't help with, I then am always up for you guys also sending suggestions of other people we can invite. So I want to start off the first big question. It's a hard question. Kumo Mutula Tsipi. Kumo says, what is the most risky decision you've made in your career, and how did it pay off? So Kumo, I've made a lot of I've made a lot of risky decisions. Some of them have paid off, some of them haven't. But probably the riskiest one was when I decided to leave full-time employment and become an entrepreneur. And I've spoken at length about that, so I'm going to just talk to it very briefly. And then maybe I'll share a second one, which I probably haven't spoken about as much. When I decided to leave a full-time job on CNBC Africa as a television anchor, it came with all the perks of the job: celebrity, being known, being on a platform, being on television, all of those things. And then I decided that I'm going to start my own firm, The Conversation Strategist, and I was going to make the work that I do, conversation strategy, a profession, and that the way to make it a profession was to actually live it, right? So live the identity and don't just talk about it. That was very risky, and it was risky because I was giving up a salary It was risky because I was giving up certainty. And it was risky because entrepreneurship is risky. Sometimes businesses fail. We've seen this with COVID. And people who had thriving businesses suddenly find that the businesses are really struggling. But it really did pay off. When I look at where I am now relative to where I was then, I'm really glad I had the experience of being on television, because I don't think I would have gotten here. But I'm also really glad that I took the jump, and I didn't stay in the comfort of what I knew, and I didn't stay in the comfort of just doing what gave me certainty. I really needed to do something that gave me joy as well. And gave me a sense of impact and gave me a sense of purpose. And I think that's what the work that I'm doing is doing for me now. So that was the most risky decision. There was another career move that I made, and that was when I was moving from corporate communications to television. So I'll keep this short, but so I was working for the Tata Group before I actually joined CNBC Africa. I had a pretty comfortable job. I had a big title. I was the head of corporate communications and branding for Africa. I was traveling. I was working between Johannesburg and Mumbai. I was traveling the continent. And then suddenly I was called by CNBC Africa, and they were like, hey, we think you would be a really great anchor. Please come and join us. And I just thought, how do I leave a certain well-paying job for television? So firstly, my brand perception of television was wrong. Like, guys, I kid you not, I just thought, Selma Toons, like, I'm going to, after my parents have worked so hard to educate me being so poor, I'm now going to leave all of that because I want to be famous on TV. And I was really petrified, but also I was petrified because I didn't know anything about financial markets. I knew nothing about trading shares. I didn't know how the stock exchange worked or any of those things. But I decided that I was going to take a leap of faith because it spoke to something in me that I didn't know how to articulate at that time. And that was the ability, the God-given ability to use conversation, to relay ideas and to bring people in and all of those things. Zimpela, you guys are laughing me and myself. Like, literally, guys, I was like, Selma Toons go Siam. But I took that leap of faith, and I took it listen to this, I took a 50% salary cut to be able to do that. And I did it because I was curious about where this was taking me. And I had made the calculation. So I changed where I lived so I could go to a place that was more affordable. I was at that point even prepared to change my car. It turned out when I did the math, I didn't have to change my car. But I wanted to release myself from the burden of not being able to chase my dreams. And to follow my heart. And part of it is releasing yourself from the golden handcuffs or golden chains of a salary, and of a good salary, and taking something less, but really throwing yourself joyfully into something else. So Kumo, thank you. It was a great question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that, and so I hope that's a decent answer. So Naledi is saying, what are your thoughts on dealing with a demotivated, narcissistic manager? Guys, I was really, really blessed in my career. I've worked for people who were really, really tough bosses. But I haven't necessarily, with the exception of one, which I'll talk about now, I've never necessarily had to work with people who were narcissistic. But I did have this one experience where this person wasn't my direct manager, but they were high enough in the organization to have a lot of influence. And I found this really interesting. This was a man, and he was an absolute bully in the workplace. But the thing that made it so frustrating was that he was brilliant at his job, right? So he was like really, really incredible. So when I was working for this particular place, I won't say what it was, I used to be able to see his brilliance, but also just be like so conflicted, not by how he treated me. So he didn't treat me badly, but he treated people around me badly. And that was so tough for me because coming into that role, I was relatively junior. And I think part of the reason why he wasn't picking on me was that I was the only black person in the team, and I think it might have been just a bit too obvious. But I think I felt really helpless that I didn't have a voice to actually watch this bully continue bullying and to say anything about it. And I found myself being really impacted by running into the bathroom and finding there's a girl in there crying, or somebody else is upset because this person was bullying them, and feeling helpless in what can I do about it, and also realizing that he wasn't doing this secretly. So even the people who are more the actual bosses knew that this is what was happening, but he was so good at his job that everybody turned a blind eye to it. I think the lesson that it's taught me is that it's really, really important, whether you're junior or not, to find an outlet to use your voice when you see people being treated badly. I regret how I behaved in that moment, which was just be so scared that I didn't use my voice. I didn't ring the alarm. I'd literally just go home and like, I'm like, yo, there is this guy at work and he did this and this to this person. But I didn't do anything about it. And I think sometimes when we watch other people being bullied, even if we're watching just because we're too scared to do anything, we embolden the bully to do more because they know that nobody's going to call them out, big or small, important or not important, senior or junior. And they kind of like expand their scope of bullying because nobody actually is going to call them out. And I really felt like by the time I left that organization, in hindsight, I mean, at that moment, I felt like, I was escaping because I was like, sure, this place is toxic. I don't want to be here. But I don't think I was escaping. I think if you leave and you run, you're actually part of letting the situation continue. At the very least, I think what I could have done is written a letter, or in my resignation letter mentioned that this was my experience of that person. So yeah, I've got things that I regret, and I certainly regret that. But was he brilliant? Absolutely. Was he like super smart? Absolutely. At that time, I used to work 6 days a week. I used to come into the office either on Saturday or Sunday. I used to always choose a day, and he was there on both days. He worked 7 days a week. Absolute work ethic like I've never seen in my life, but an absolute toxic person who I think was allowed to become more toxic because people like myself were just too scared to use our voices and ring the alarm about that behavior. So you're right, Avetando. A resignation report might have been the right thing to do. And I think being too junior, I felt paralyzed cognitively and emotionally. I wasn't even thinking about the things that were available to me to actually act on. I just wanted to pick up a question or a comment here. Nelfi says, how best do you stay calm when under constant pressure in the workplace? Okay, Nelfi, we're sending the questions on DM. So if we've got time, I'll come back to your question. Other than that, I'm going to prioritize the questions on DM that we received during the week. And then I've got people on my team on, so they're also going to be picking up some of the questions that come up that we don't get to. But if your question or comment is related to what we're talking about at that particular time, I'll definitely address it. Okay. So Naledi, thank you. That was Naledi Mutlung. Thank you for your question. It took me to a reflective space about my own complicity in that space. Slindile, welcome. Slindile, good. And then Evolve was saying, and they have to be brilliant. They were always like that. You can't be a bully and be average. Otherwise, you can't get away with it. Evolve, you're so right. You're so right. It is oftentimes, the brilliance buys the extent to which others will ignore your behavior. So thank you very much for that comment. Yeah, because if you're average, you're not going to get away with bullying, at least I think as well. Okay, so Zingi is saying, sure, it's a big question, Zingi. I'm going to try it though. Zingi Dubula is saying, how do you get on boards? How to get on boards based on experience and networking, and how to position self. So how does one get on boards, and how do you position yourself for boards? It's such a good question, and I really hope that I don't spend too much time on this, guys. I've had a couple of people come up to me and say, I want to get on boards. And I always ask myself, what is the driver, right? So why do you want to get on? What is it that what you want? Why do you want to be on a board? And I think part of the thing that we've just got to address and put aside and then get to, how might you go about it, is that I think boards have become the new sort of brag sheet, right? So people want to talk about, I sit on this board and that board, but to what extent? What is it that you are doing on those boards? And oftentimes when I scratch beneath the surface, I realize that a lot of people want to sit on boards because they almost want it as a tick box thing on their CV that I sit on a board. So let's just make sure that we understand that when you're sitting on board, firstly, you're taking on a fiduciary responsibility. So, for example, in a listed company, if you're sitting on the board of a listed company and the executive team get involved in some corrupt activity, maybe with the government tender, and you as the board do not give the right oversight and do not have strong governance measures to be able to pick that up, you are personally liable for what happens in that company. So this is actually not a nice light thing to do. It's an absolutely such a critical, important responsibility that when we say this, guys, we need to go towards it open-minded. When I started my journey, I went through a journey of going through the Institute of Directors, the IOD, and they have actual courses that qualify you as a registered a qualified board member that has gone through the training as part of the Institute of Directors. And I found that really valuable because it wasn't only about the helping you really understand governance and ethical governance and what are the things you need to look out for as a board member, but it also helped you to see how rigorous and how robust a job it is to actually sit on a board. And actually that it's actually really not a light thing to do. So I would really encourage anyone who's really interested to go check out what, go and check out what's happening with the Institute of Directors, sign up and really understand what you're getting yourself into, because you're making yourself liable for the decisions that other people take, because it's your name on the letterhead, right? And so legally you become the one who's exposed for any of the decisions that executive team takes. And so it's equally important that even when you get a board invitation, you do the work of first understanding who else is on the board. Do you want association with those people sitting on that board? Because now what institutions do is they don't only look at who's on the board, they look at who else is associated in that board. So if one of your board members or fellow board members is a corrupt individual, you are, by association of sitting on that board with them, are a first link to that person, and it can jeopardize your own chances of further board opportunities. Zimpelo, it's IOD, Institute of Directors. Now, in addition to that, you want to see who are the other board members who are there, what's their track record, which other boards have they sat on, have there been any scandals around that? Then you want to look at the executive team. Who's on that team? Who is the CEO? How is the CEO appointed? What is the record of this person? And can you trust that as you come with oversight and governance, that they have the credibility, the ethical behavior at an operational level to actually be guided by a board? The last thing I want to say is be careful about not becoming the tick in the box, right? So why are you being invited to this board? Are they really looking for an additional person, or they're looking for a black woman who's then going to meet the compliance requirements of that board to be diverse and transformed? And when you're sitting on that board, do you actually have a voice? In what are the instances where you say something and it actually shifts a conversation or shifts fundamentally a decision that could have been made and is changed because of something that you've raised on the board? Which committees are you then invited to serve on the board? Are you going to be, are you invited to something like the audit committee, which is potentially one of the most important board committees? So all of these things, guys, are really, really important. And in terms of positioning, I always feel that it is your track record of what you're doing today that puts you and positions you as attractive to other boards, and then they invite you because they feel that even if you're from a different sector, because you don't have to necessarily be a specialist in the telecoms industry to go sit on the board of a telecom company. Sometimes they are deliberately looking for people with a different lens, but who have the experience of working. So what is your track record of having worked? What's your track record of having led? More importantly, what's your track record of having been able to come out of difficult situations? You don't get invited to boards because of what you know. You get invited to boards because of your ability to apply critical thinking when the going gets tough. Nobody needs you come to a board to repeat something that's in a textbook they can read by themselves. But what are the what if, red flag, cautionary questions and insights you're going to bring into different board conversations so that you're helping the operational team, the CEO and his or her executive team, to make a better decision because you've made a particular contribution. So I think we could have a really, really meaningful conversation about this. So do let me know if you guys want us to do a particular live around sitting on boards. I get this question all the time, all the time. And I think it's really, really important that we are just eyes wide open every time we step into a board opportunity or we pursue a board opportunity. Allow me to say this. People often say that a good training ground is sort of non-profit boards and smaller boards. And I think I would agree with that, right? So put up your hands for, non-paying boards. Put up your hands for an NGO or an NPO that's close to your heart. Get the experience so that when you get invited to bigger, more credible boards where there's higher risk, you know exactly what you're actually walking into, and you're not running the risk of being a tick box exercise. This thing called a through pass? You guys know a through pass? You know that when they play rugby and they pass the ball like this, and I always think about it that way. So that's so when things go, when things go south, and you're left with the one, and you're left as the one holding the ball. That's what happens if you don't know what you're walking into. So please, guys, let's be super, super, super careful about what we're wanting to walk into. Make sure you're armed with the right insight, the right information, and at the very least, some skin in the game. So a little bit of experience to get you there. Get onto an NPO, NGO board to start off with, and volunteer your time. Get into the rhythm of reading board packs, making substantial contributions, testing your own voice within those spaces, so that when you get onto the big boards, you're really able to make a big impact. Those places are hard, but sometimes you're sitting with board veterans, people who've been chairing boards for 20 years. So you've got to be very clear about what you're stepping into. The politics are intense, and you want to make sure that you're not walking into a trap unawares of what's happening. Okay. Thank you on that one. Thanks, Rainbow. Rainbow, take great advice. Thank you so much. Okay. Kainsile, this is such a hard question. Kainsile Mbele. Kainsile is saying, how do you stay aligned with your purpose? And how do you stay aligned with the purpose, staying on brand with yourself? So I'll focus on the first bit of the question. How do you stay aligned with your purpose? It's a very good question. So I'm going to share something that I might have shared before. Maybe some of you guys never heard this, so I'll repeat it, but I think this is important. So if you read Jim Collins, and he's written Great by Choice, Good to Great, and a range of other books, he talks about something called the hedgehog, and we talk about this at LRMG quite a lot. He talks about something called the hedgehog, and he says, imagine there are 3 concentric circles, so not overlapping, a circle there, and then a circle here at the bottom. So in the middle, all these 3 circles meet, right? And he says the one circle represents passion. So the thing that you're most passionate about in the world. He says the other thing represents what you're best in the world at. So your skill. What is the thing that you're best in the world at? And then the third circle, he says, represents an economic engine. So what is the thing that you can do that people want to pay you for over and over and over again? Now, Dick, I want to come back to your question maybe a bit later when we do the board's question, because I think it's brilliant. So if anybody on my team is on, please, can we pick up now Dick's question, because it's a very good question. So there are three circles, right? The passion circle, the best in the world at circle, and the last one is your economic engine. What is the thing that you are able to do that people want to pay you in the world for? And he says that where those three things intersect is what he calls your hedgehog. Essentially, it is the expression of your purpose. Your purpose sits at the center of that thing, right? So Kainitili's question is, how do you stay aligned with that purpose? And I think it's a really good question, because you're not always going to be doing things that feel perfectly like their passion. You're not always going to do things that are like at all times going to feel like this is what I'm best in the world at. And you're not always going to do things that people actually want to pay you for right from the onset. You're always going to be sort of oscillating around these three circles. The invitation for all of us is that how do we keep journeying towards the center in everything that we do? So let me make that a little bit practical, because I think staying aligned is about always thriving or striving towards getting to the center, even though we'll never stay in the center perpetually, because we grow and we stretch. So for example, the things that we're passionate about, they change. Whether you like it or not, they change. You know, there was a time when you might have been passionate about, let me use myself an example. There was a time when I was absolutely passionate about understanding the world of television, right? Because that's where I was at. And I was doing it because, you know, there was an economic driver behind it because I was getting paid for it. Was I best in the world? No, I don't think so. And so in trying to move towards something that is more best in the world, that I then landed on moderating. Am I passionate about it? Yes. Am I best in the world at it? I'd like to think so, but maybe I still have some work to do. Is there an economic engine? Absolutely. But have I reached the economic engine that I think I could never make more money than this? Absolutely not. There's still so many opportunities to scale and to make a distinctive economic impact in that space. And there have been times in my career where I've done things that I'm good at. I've done things that paid me, but I wasn't necessarily passionate about it. I just knew how to do it. So when I was working as the head of corporate comms, that I wasn't best in the world at it. I was decent. I wasn't necessarily super passionate about it. It was a job that I needed at the time, and I was doing the best that I could with what I had. Was there an economic engine behind it? Absolutely. I was getting paid a decent salary. So I think Kainsile's question is important, because I don't think there's any such thing as arriving fully at your purpose. We're always in pursuit of purpose. We're always in pursuit of purpose. We're always trying to capture moments where those three things overlap, but we don't necessarily stay there, because even that then would become a little bit static and a little bit flat. Because once you arrive at a place that feels like it's your hedgehog, it feels like it's your sweet spot, you discover something else about yourself. And that's the thing that gets you now pursuing something else. When there was a moment, I remember that where I was doing a show on CNBC Africa called Invest Africa, and we were talking about investment opportunities across the different regions. So we would look at, East Africa, we'd look at West Africa, we'd look at Southern Africa and Central Africa, North Africa as well. And we'd be looking at, so what are the different investment opportunities? And while I was doing that show, I loved that show. I didn't know why, but it really just connected with me. I was really passionate about that show. I don't think I was best in the world at it, but I was, I loved what I was doing, and I was getting paid for it. And then in that moment where I really felt like this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, you know what happened? That's how I discovered moderating. And then suddenly, the thing that I was beginning to settle for as the only thing I want to do for the rest of my life opened me up to a new discovery. So Naldik, absolutely. There was another, it was almost like it was an invitation to go and open another door. So there's a door behind a door behind a door. And that's why I love Kainsile's question, is that there's no such thing as having arrived at your purpose. We stay in pursuit of purpose, in pursuit of doing things that make us feel really passionate about it, that invite us to be the best in the world at them, and that hopefully the world wants to pay us for it. So the world sees value in those things as well. So we don't just see the value, but the world sees the value as well. So staying aligned means just following your heart and following your gut about opening the door behind the door. So immediately when it starts feeling too good to be true, open the door. There's something else that's beckoning for you on the other side. And we just have to be brave enough to just open that door and walk through it and discover something else about ourselves. Stay in pursuit. There's no such thing, I believe, as arriving at purpose. I hear people, and I know I'm going to get bashed for this, but I love you guys and it's fine. I hear people say, I discovered that my purpose was being a mother. Aibo. And then what happens when you're a grandmother? And then when you become a great-grandmother? Or what about, guys, you can feel like there's a certain element of you that's been unlocked by you being a mother. But there's more to you than that. And you might really enjoy motherhood. And then when you open the door, you find that there's something else. Maybe you start writing children's books because you have children. And that opens up something for you to be an author. So it doesn't mean now that you're a bad person because suddenly being a mother is not your purpose. You moved on from that. Purpose evolves. We're always in pursuit. It's never one stationary thing at any one time. Okay, I could preach about this for days. But I wanted to say, Kainsile, thank you so much. I think that was such a good question. I'm going to be very quick on this one. It's from Slindo Guhle. The question is, what is your definition of success? And what are you, and as an add-on, what are your personal metrics of measuring growth in whatever area of your life? So when it comes to definition of success, I've said this before, I'm going to say it with all humility again. I'm not looking for success. I already have that. I'm looking for significance in my life. I am completely ignited by the idea that I could live a life where other people are able to say, because Nozi lived, because Nozi did this, or because Nozi achieved that, I therefore can. And that for me is about significance. It's about other people winning because I was here. And that's how I measure the value of my life. So at the end of the day, for me, I'm not necessarily interested in how many people gave me a standing ovation when I got off stage or anything like that. I'm really, really interested in how is this conversation going to change anything, and whose life is going to be impacted because I was here and because I did my job and did my job well. And that's my measure of whether I'm making progress or not. I don't know if Tendai is here, but on, I think it was Saturday, I was literally at Rosebank Mall looking crusty AF and pushing my trolley, busy doing grocery shopping for my father-in-law's 70th birthday. And Tendai came up to me, this beautiful girl comes up to me and she says, "Oh my gosh, you don't know what you've done in my life." And I'm like, oh my goodness, on a day where I'm looking like this, "Hi, how are you? Let's have this conversation." And she started just talking to me about how these conversations, the mentorship Mondays, the real talks that we used to do, the debriefs, all of these things have had a real impact on her life. And I walked away from that with tears in my eyes, because I was like, oh my gosh, God, thank you for reminding me why I do what I do. And hear me well. This wasn't a celebrity moment. She didn't ask for an autograph. She didn't ask to take a picture with me. She had tears in her eyes. We ended up both crying in the middle of Rosebank Mall, where she was telling me about the impact in her life. And I was listening to this as a validation of what I'm doing out in the world. That for me, when in those moments, that for me is what matters. Ogunye nogunye, it's neither here nor there. But I want to be counted because other people count wins in their life because of me. That's my story, Slindo Gotla. That's my story. Patience Lamau. Patience says, how does one begin to market themselves to event organizers as an MC and a speaker? Okay, cool. So I'm going to give you a couple of agency names that you can reach out to if you're looking to market yourself and you want some of the agencies to represent you. So you can look up Unique Speaker Bureau, so USB, Unique Speaker Bureau. They're an agency. You can look up Famous Faces. It's run by an amazing gentleman called Stuart Lee. He's amazing. So they are also, they're always looking for, new fresh faces to take into the MC and speaker market. Unique Speaker Bureau, Famous Faces, Empower, do they call themselves Empowerex? I don't remember, but Empower something also does that. So just remember, guys, that agencies can be a really useful strategy if you're still trying to get seen and in the market, because they will help you, put together a really strong bio. And when opportunities come up, they have an incentive to put your name forward because they get a cut out of what you get at the end of the day. And so they're always good to reach out to for you to send them your bio and let them know, what are your strengths, right? And what are the things that you think you could, what are the areas where you feel like you'd be best positioned as an MC or speaker. So I'll repeat that. USB, which is Unique Speaker Bureau, Famous Faces. I'm just going to do 3 that I'm very familiar with. USB, Famous Faces, and I've forgotten the other one now. I think it was Empower something, but definitely you can reach out to those, and they're always great people. Okay, I love this name, Afro Diva Online. Hello to you. Okay, Empowerworks, yes. Thank you, Xoli. Empowerworks, yes. I think that's what they're called. Okay, so Pumla Randela. Pumla says, what inspires you every day when you run your business besides money and success? Have you been sabotaged in business for trusting people? So I've already spoken about what inspires me. I'm inspired by the possibility of significance and being significant in the lives of others. Have I ever been sabotaged by people by trusting them? Yo, guys, I'm a ruthless business person. I don't even think people would dare. And the last big thing that happened was a genuine mistake. So I don't think it was sabotage, but I'll tell you this. The long and short of it is that I went to do a piece of work for a big global client, and they had like an agency managing all of the speakers and so on and so forth. And when they paid me in their local currency instead of paying me in dollars. So the long and short of it is that they paid me 10% of what I was actually supposed to get paid. And you can imagine it was not a happy day, but I think it actually underscores why it's so important to be so nice and kind in your relations with clients, because when mistakes like this happen, your client is very quick to step in the space, own the mistake, and then commit to rectifying it for you, which is what they're currently doing right now. And I think if I had been a Miss Diva and all sorts of things, didn't really leave value on the table in what I was doing, I can imagine a situation where I'm probably being ignored and I'm not being assisted. I'm absolutely calm about it. I know that the rest of it is going to come, but it was petrifying to see the mistake and having to say, guys, you've made a mistake, and having to have the consideration cross your mind that somebody might have made a mistake and not want to own that mistake, right? And so to have people say, oh yes, sorry, we've made the mistake, we'll sort it out, is like a big thing. So that was the only closest thing versus like a massive mistake. But no, I haven't had people trying to sabotage me in business. I suppose, Guti, the other thing is anhlegi food. Like, I think, like, I'm a very nice person, but I take a lot after my mom. My mom used to say 2 things. So for those of you who understand Zulu, you'll hear me. Hi, Juanita. She used to say, ungahleki baze babone izinyo lomhlathi, which means, don't don't be so nice that you become gullible because you're laughing all the way up to your molars, right? So as much as I'm always advocating for kindness and doing things good-heartedly and with a good heart, I do that with my business head on. I'm always thinking in the context of business. So, everything is about, it's a balance of the two. And then the other thing that my mom used to say, which is very uncultured, but it's fine. She used to say, ngiyahleka ukuhleka but angishayisani namasimba, which is, no, she said ngiyasonta ukusonta but angishayisani namasimba. And it directly translated is like, yes, I go to church and yes, I'm a Christian, but if you come with ish at me, it's not going to work, right? I don't take ish. And that's just kind of like been my mantra. I love that about her. So there are moments especially when I'm having a really bad day, I will just think of her saying, but I don't. And I remind myself of that I can be both. I can be kind, I can be good-hearted, I can be courteous, but I can be tough, and I can be a tough negotiator, and I can make sure that what needs to get did gets done. And that's just that. Right? So, Lerato, I think, yeah, guys, I think you would have loved my mom. You're going to make me miss her. I think we need to have a live one of these days because Lerato's in procurement, guys. So we need to have a live one of these days, Lerato, invite you on, like, how do we help people get more tenders through the right procurement process? Because I think you probably can talk to us about that. Esther on the right says, I knew your mom without knowing she's your mom because I went to Eastwood Secondary and we'd see her every day after school. Oh my gosh, that's so special. So my mom used to sell fruits and sweets and vegetables outside Eastwood Secondary School before she started studying teaching, which basically she went back to school at 48 to go and study towards becoming a teacher. And she got her teaching degree at 52 and started teaching at 53. So when they tell you it's too late, you must come here and I'll tell you the story of, my mom used to always say, I'm not going to die not having become the person that God intended me to be. I'm not going to die until I've become the person that God intended me to be. And it's, every time I say that, I get literal goosebumps because it's once she had achieved her biggest dream of being a teacher that she passed. But she had an opportunity to do that, and she had an opportunity to teach, which was her dream come true. So if you ever wonder where I get that bull in a china shop streak in me, I get it from her. My mom never knew no. And even if her dream was delayed by decades, she never let go of it because she knew that's what she was meant to be. And that's who she was meant to be. And God was not going to deny her of that. So now you see, guys, we're all now going to start crying, which is not why we came. That's not the reason why we're on this live. So I just want to pick up, some of the comments because now you guys are going to make me cry. So I don't, Esther on the rise, thank you for raising that. You just took me to my mom. Leslie, thanks for being here, sis. Hope you're feeling better. Leslie says, Chomi, being burnt out really got me to trust and paperwork strongly. But if people are unethical, they'll find a gap. People now need to earn my trust. Yeah, that's the burning bridges experience, right? Rudy, thank you very much. Asta on the right says, why not? Yeah, my mother. So that just, Asta's now still talking about my mom. It's like my mom used to be like really friendly, but she had a line. And because she was always surrounded by school children coming to buy sweets and stuff from her, you always knew that she was a strict mother, even though she wasn't your mom. Avetandra says, thanks for being honest with your leadership. It feels bad to step up as a leader to set boundaries. And you must. Scarcity says, kudos to your mom. Thank you so much. My mom, guys, my mom was something else. So I literally have one more question. So if we've got time, I'll take the one more question, and if we've got time, I'll tell you a little bit about my mom, and I'll give you a little bit of the gifts that she gave me. I think, one of the things I love about these Mentorship Mondays is that we have the actual questions, right? But the conversation is so organic, and you guys take me there. And I always find that the most impactful parts of our conversation sometimes is in and around the questions, right? So yeah, I just want to thank you for that, because you've just taken me to a really special place right now. So let me take Oyama's question, which is the last question for tonight. Oyama says, hi Nozi, I've been following you for a while and joining Mentorship Mondays. I am aspiring to become a faith coach, where I coach individuals to become who they were created to be. I've been learning a lot from you, from what you've had to share. I would love to be involved in pouring in on young children, especially girls, where I share my story of overcoming. Please advise on how to go about it. So far, I've been posting videos of encouragement on YouTube and Instagram. Ayama, it's such a big, it's such a big question, but maybe we can do this. If you're on right now, Oyama, can you please just write in the chat? And I think it starts with all of us showing up for each other and just helping you spread the word. I think you're already doing the right things. I always think if you've got a conversation that you want to start, you start that conversation by just having it, right? And you don't wait for somebody to give you a platform and a stage. And if you're already doing videos on Instagram, videos on YouTube, put it on this live. Let's follow you. Let's subscribe. Let's get the 100 or so people who are listening right now to come and see your work and to support you, because that's the thing. And I'd love to see your handle, and I'll also come and follow. Let's see how we can help you do that. Okay. 13 minutes. Okay, let me see what I can do. Somebody was saying, can I mentorship from the experience of my mom? So I'm going to share a couple of things. I'll share an experience about my mom, and then I'll give you the what it's taught me about life, right? So so I've said this before. So I grew up in a very poor family, and that's I hate parading poverty, right? So this idea that I was more Oyama, thank you guys. There's Oyama's there. So I'm going to see if I can like your thing. Hey, guys, I don't know how these. I'm going to pin it. So I've just pinned Oyama's message. She says I'm here. Guys, can we please go and follow Oyama tonight? Let's give her some support. Let's go to her page, and let's just help her amplify the good work that she's doing in her own space. And Oyama, I'll follow you after this as well. And I'd like to invite everybody else to do that as well. Thank you for being here and for sending your question. I think it deserves a longer answer. So I'm going to try give you a longer answer offline on the DM. Okay, a couple of lessons based on what I've learned about my mom. So the big thing about my mom was that having grown up poor, my mother always let me, my mother never had a thing about being ashamed about what we had and what we didn't have, right? And guys, thank you so much for following Oyama. She never had a shame. My mother used to sell sweets, guys, and fruits and vegetables and go slow. If you know go slow, I hope like it's a type of chip and whatever. Outside of the school gates of the school that was just up the road from my house. And before that, she used to go and sell outside factory shops. She was, cooking outside factory shops for work as well. My dad worked inside the factory. And she'd go in and set up her table. At some point, she had set up a shack outside this shoe factory in Panorama, which is a place in Pietermaritzburg. And, and everything that she did, she never seemed to have a sense of shame about what she didn't have. She always looked at how does she show up for all that she does have, as little as it may be. And for me, that was a really, really big life lesson. Because, as a child growing up, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. My mother's a street vendor, whereas other people's moms are picking them up in cars from the schools that we used to go to and all of that. And then you see how this person, for who you're feeling ashamed about, has no shame in what she's doing. And for me, it was just probably one of the biggest lessons my mom has always taught me, and that is, have pride in how far you've come, irrespective of where you are. But don't forget to have faith in how far you can still go. And she used to carry these two things in every step, in all her words, in the way she showed up. She was always the epitome of pride in how much she had achieved, even if it was little in somebody else's eyes, but also so much faith about what more she could still do. So that's lesson number one. Have pride in how far you've come. Have faith in how far you can still go. The other thing about my mom is that she never knew no. The no didn't exist in her vocabulary at all. I remember the one time I got a no was when I came home and I said I wanted to go do canoeing. And my mom was like, so let me tell you the back end story. I was allowed to do everything I wanted in school. And imalia goslo and chips and fruits and everything my mother would find a way to make it enough. So if there was a school trip, I was there. If there was a new blazer that needed to bought, I'd have one. My mother never, when it came to school, anything that you wanted, you got. Until the one day I'd want the school launched canoeing, and then I wanted to do canoeing, and then my mom was like, I draw the line. So she didn't have a sense of a canoe boat. She thought I wanted them to buy me like a boat, like a ship. But I think it's such a significant experience of my growing up that it takes a lot for me to look at something and for me to say I can't. I didn't grow up in a family where I can't was a thing. My mom's reaction to everything was, of course you can. Like, I don't know what I can't looks like. And so, yeah, sometimes I might be scared about things. Sometimes I might be overwhelmed about something. But at the end of it, of course I can. There's nothing I can't learn. There's nothing I can't try. I'm capable of everything that I put my mind to. So who knows is saying, I love her library card idea. So let me tell you the library card story. So when I was 7, my mom bought me a library card. Or didn't bought me. She went and signed up for a library card at the Eastwood Library as my birthday present. And I remember at that time just being so annoyed. I'm like, library card, you know, when other kids were getting, I don't know, BMXs and whatever else that a 7-year-old wanted at the time. But when I think about it today, without a doubt, the biggest gift she's ever given me. The biggest gift she's ever given me. And it's changed only in adult life. I must say, I didn't realize that growing up. But in adult life, I realized the gift of how intentional that gift was. And how my parents were super strict. I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. Neither were my sisters. But if it was the library, she would go out of her way to walk us there if we had to go and take out books. So I grew up reading. I mean, I discovered sex by reading Mills and Boon, my mother's Mills and Boon, stealing them. I don't know if any of you guys remember Mills and Boon. She had a stack of Mills and Boons, and I would take those Mills and Boons at night, and I'd be literally under the covers and reading all these steamy things that were happening on the pages between these people. And that was like way before I should have been reading Mills and Boon. But she'd instilled such a deep curiosity in my life by introducing me to reading and introducing me to books. Okay, I'm going to tell you one last story. Mbongeni, I pinned your comment because you're just going to make me cry, so I don't want to read it right now. I'm going to tell you one last story. I've told the story before. When I was going to leave Tata and I was going to go join CNBC Africa, and I was just like so scared to tell my mother that I was leaving a proper job to go do television, right? It's the Seluma Tunzi moment. I decided that the way I was going to tell her is try to make it a joke, right? So I was saying to her, hey, Yazin, I got a job in Tolum Sevens. So she said, where are you going? I'm like, no, I'm going to the airport. I'm going to work at the airport. So she says, doing what? I'm like, no, so I'm going to park airplanes. And I expected her to laugh on some, ha, 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 okay, tell me what the real job was. That was the intention of me doing that. Her response was, when do you start? That was my mother's response. When I said to her, I've gotten a job to go and park airplanes, her instinctive, her gut, raw response was, when do you start? So guys, I remember in that moment, I literally teared up because I was like, who am I to not believe in myself when this person believes in me so much and believes I'm capable of doing anything that I set my heart to, that it doesn't even cross her mind that I might not qualify to go and park airplanes at the airport, that I know nothing about flying airplanes, and that her biggest concern in that moment is, when do I start? That is the level of self-belief in me that I grew up with. I grew up with a mother who expected nothing but the very best of me, and not necessarily in a negative pressure, but she would always say to me and my sisters at all times, you were born for great things. You were born for great things. And so she always expected great things. So now, see, we're at almost top of the hour. So one of the things she used to do, so I'm very competitive and I love, academics, like, from a very young age. And, primary school, from grade 1, I used to come with a little certificate that says I came in the top 3. And she always used to, we used to go top 3, number 1, number 2, number 3, going through all the way to grade 7. And there are times I wouldn't be in the top 3, or I'd be in the top 10. Even when I came first in my class or in my entire grade, my mother used to say to me, and I'll say this in Zulu and then I'll translate. She used to say, ezinye ingane zihlatshelwe inkukhu, wena akho nkukhu esizoyihlaba, yiloko vele sikulindele, which basically means other children might have chickens slaughtered for them in celebration of them achieving, but when I hope I'm back. She used to say, other children might have chickens slaughtered in celebration of their achievements, but we're not going to slaughter anything from you because this is what we expect from you anyway. And every time today when my husband says, you don't thank the sun for shining, it reminds me of my mother. She had set a standard for us that just says, it's the best or nothing. It's quality or nothing. You either do it properly or you don't do it at all. That's how I was raised. And so I think it spills over to even the expectations I have of myself today, but also the expectations I have about my business and the things that I do. I give the best that I've got to give, or I don't touch it at all. Right? And so it's normalizing excellence. And I know we talk about these things and that is motivational talks, what. No, these are the things you normalize through the conversations you have with people in your family. This is the conversations you have with your children. For me, growing up, nothing but the best was expected. If I put my heart to something, my mother was just not going to accept ukuthi ngizosala emumva, like I was going to be a tail. It was just not going to happen. And it wasn't through a negative force, but just over a deep belief that was constantly affirmed time and time again that you are capable and you do excellent things and you deliver quality, and we don't expect anything less from you. So guys, I think I've preached enough for one day, ne? So Mbongeni, I'm ready for your comment. Uhlata says, do you ever feel that you weren't celebrated and your achievements acknowledged? Nope. No, not at all. I think, when you come from a home where you're affirmed and encouraged and constantly reminded that you're smart. I always wonder where I got that thing from, that my mother used to say, let me tell you this, my mother used to say, there's only 3 clever things in the world. And she says, TV, a computer, no nose. So, and she used to say that, and I used to say, what do you mean by that? So, remember the old TVs had that thing at the back, the big black thing at the back, and then the computers, the olden days computers also had that big thing at the back, and then she used to always tease me about ingegela, like the fact that I've got ingegela, like my head is like this at the back. So she used to say all those three things have the same shape back, and those are the three cleverest things in the world. So I grew up very affirmed. I grew up feeling very special. I grew up being told that I was going to amount to great things, and that even the things I was doing as a child was celebrated as positive. Kanye, she's busy laughing at me here. They were celebrated as good things. So there was never a gap in my life about, hey, I'm not celebrated, or I'm not, I'm not acknowledged. No, I was a super special child, and I was made to feel like a super special child every single day of my life. My mom reminded me I was smart every single day. Whether I'm smart or not, guys, but I grew up being told that I was smart. So I grew up to believe that I was smart, and I grew up to show up in the world as if I'm smart. You see the pattern? I grew up being told that I'm smart, and so I grew up believing that I was smart, and I grew up to show up in the world as if I'm smart. So let me just say goodbyes. Asta, the hour is over. Sketsis says this live was so refreshing. It emphasizes the importance of good parenting. Thank you so much. TV, computer, no nose. Guys, please don't tease me about this for the rest of my life. Thank you so much. And I just want to just read Mbongeni's comment now before I cry. So Mbongeni says, burning the house down, Mganam, a privilege for all of us, and evolving purpose, strategic insights, Kwa Prof Development Masterclass Uma is still parenting. Enriched. Thank you so much, my friend. I really appreciate that. And Slindo Gota says, you are smart. Thank you, Slindo Gota. And as guys, we parents, as parents will tell you what they want you to believe. So we'll see what happens. But I just wanted to say, guys, thank you. Oh gosh, today's Mentorship Mondays felt so super amazing. It is now 9:00 in Mauritius, and my client is busy pinging me here, asking me if I want to come out for drinks with them. So I'm tired, guys. I'm just actually going to have an early night, go through the rest of my notes. For anybody who wants to watch the live, remember it's on the YouTube. It's on our YouTube page. We're going to upload it. Please go have a look at it there. And you're so welcome. Itu Sue saying thank you for the speaking agencies. Absolutely. Reach out to them. They're always looking for people. And that is it. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good evening. Bye-bye. Makungu, I don't know. I don't know. Bye-bye, guys. Bye.